Thank you for joining us to learn more about how you can create a more supportive work environment for all employees, especially those that may have experienced trauma, through cultivating a trauma-informed workplace. I'm delighted to be speaking today with James Bartle, founder of Outland Denim, an Australian apparel company which has survivor empowerment at the heart of its mission. James will talk us through Outland Denim's unique four-pillar employment model and the way in which employees are supported through training and economic empowerment. This case study is intended to accompany the trauma-informed company training developed by the Global Business Coalition Against Human Trafficking, which aims to help businesses build the capacity of their people managers who may be supporting employees who have experienced trauma. Before we get started, I'll review one of our learnings from the trauma-informed company training that you will get to see put into action today with Outland Denim's case study. A trauma-informed approach to employment is one that does four things. Firstly, it realizes the widespread impact of trauma on a person's life and performance and believes in the potential for recovery. Secondly, it recognizes the signs and symptoms of trauma in staff. Thirdly, it responds by fully integrating knowledge about trauma into policies, procedures, and practices. And finally, it's one that seeks to actively resist re-traumatization. I look forward to exploring with James today how Outland Denim implements this approach in its day-to-day operations and the impact that it has on its workforce. So James, thank you so much for speaking with me today. I'd love to hear more about Outland Denim, who you are, and your unique approach to employment.
Yeah, well, great. Hey, thanks so much for having me. And look, it is quite a unique approach, especially when you look at the fashion industry and the realities of employment and the conditions that people work within. We really spent a lot of time trying to develop something that was giving the opportunity to people to really find their own way out of the traumatized past they may have experienced and to have a much brighter future, but by way of really having ownership over that as well. And so I think that's one of the key components to the success of Outland and the impact it can have.
Thanks for sharing that, James. It's really great to hear that you've embarked on this very unique employment model. I'd love to hear really how you have built this trauma-informed approach to your employment. And so if you could take us through some of the details of that, it would be great to hear.
What we discovered over the years was there was really four major components that needed to happen before we started to see evidence that one of our staff members was coming from a place of trauma all the way through to a place where they were operating in what we would call in a prosperous way, where we would say that it's activated a cycle of freedom within their life. And so the very first thing is that it's opportunity, and this opportunity mightn't sound like much, but it's opportunity to people that might not get it otherwise. And that's because of maybe the trauma they've faced in the past, because of the skills that they don't have. And so it becomes very clear that there's a group of people that are out there that haven't had this opportunity or the opportunity to learn and gather the skills they need to be able to be prosperous, to have a life of freedom. And so our job is to find those people and then put them into a workforce combined with other people that maybe have experienced those benefits in their life. And then as they work together, we notice a huge change. A living wage is, it's a bit crazy that we all still have to talk about a living wage, that being the base wage that somebody can live on, where they're able to save, have healthcare, an education, all the basic things that we need in life is something that makes up a living wage. And so that's one of the components which is a key in activating this cycle of freedom. Skills acquisition. So there's a cost that goes into training someone, especially if they've come from a traumatic past, they carry some of these baggages with them. So how do you create a workplace where you're not dropping standards, you're still holding your staff to a high standard so that they become highly skilled and good at what they do, but at the same time, be able to give them the space and the freedom to be able to work through those experiences so that they can have mental healing and in some cases physical healing as well. And so that skills acquisition is a really key part to being able to see people work come from getting an opportunity, being able to support themselves and their family on this journey, acquire the skills that they need to be able to be successful. But then we found that there's still this missing piece around education, and the education is different in every week. It could be different. It could be looking at finances one week and next week languages, Khmer literacy. So when they go to work, we need to start to work through things like literacy. How do we teach them to read and write? Do they want to learn another language? How do they manage their money, budgeting, finance, healthcare, all of these things? And what we found that is if you combined all of these four components together, you started to see something that that others have termed as a freedom dividend. And that is the consequence of offering the combination of these things. As soon as you take one of those things away, it doesn't work. And so we found over the now 11 years that we've been operating that this is the foundational components that go into setting our business up to be able to offer a freedom dividend.
I love that phrase, the freedom dividend. It's a great one to aspire to, I think. So James, you've talked about why it's necessary to integrate survivors into employment. Could you tell us the practicalities of how you actually do that and how you find the right types of candidates to work at Outland Denim?
That's a really key thing, and it's about having really good relationships with other organizations. So a lot of the time we're working with non-government organizations that specialize in the identification and rescue of young women predominantly, and sometimes men as well. And so their job is to be able to get these people out of harm's way. The reality is, though, without a great place to be able to go and work and the opportunity to have the kind of support that we offer, it's a very difficult road ahead. And so by working with nonprofits, it means that we're able to offer a safe working environment where those NGOs are able to continually have access with their clients so that they can make sure that mentally that they've got the right support and care to be able to be prosperous and have the best opportunity to be successful at this job. And then internally, once we've got these new staff members in, it's really about just identifying the skill levels, where they're strong, where they're weak, and then giving them the support they need internally. So we've got the NGO that is giving them the support, the counselling, all of that care, working closely with us to be able to give them then the practical skills they need to be successful in-house, along with many other things that we'll get to.
Once survivors have secured employment at Outland Denim, how do you ensure that they are not vulnerable to re-exploitation?
Like one of the key components to making the people that we employ and the 40 odd plus million enslaved people around the world vulnerable is the fact that they're poor. It's one of the underpinning things. And so it's an economic problem that needs to be addressed. And so therefore, if that's the issue, then we've got to address it on an individual level. And if we're not giving people the amount of money that they require to be able to live what the ankle method, as an example, might demonstrate as a living wage in a particular region, then we're not giving them any chance at all. And in fact, we're creating dependent workers. They're dependent on us. They no longer, or maybe have never even had the chance to be independent. Independence comes because you're able to pay your bills, you're able to have healthcare, give your family an education, all these basic things. And so for us, that means that we need to calculate what that looks like. It can look different in a province than it is in the capital city. But we base those things based on things like rent. What is healthcare going to cost? We want them to save. Can they go out for dinner on a Friday night? Even some of those things are really important to the health and well-being of our staff and their families. And so all of these different things come together to really build out what a living wage looks like. And then it's really about training. How do we make sure that they're supported and trained so that they can manage those finances? That's a key in them being successful.
So moving on to skills acquisition, James, how do you train your employees with the skills to operate successfully in your industry? And do you feel as though your approach is different to other companies in the industry?
The skills acquisition component of what we do is incredibly important in that if we want to create independent employees so that they're no longer relying upon us, once they've got these skills, that they have the ability to be able to get a job elsewhere, that they would get paid well because of the amount of skill that they have, then it's really important to do a lot of cross-training. And cross-training is one of the things that we've found is very different and very unique to the way most factories operate. So what that means for us is that we will give opportunities in different parts of the process to making a product. So if we're making a pair of jeans, that might look like somebody is on making a back pocket. Then somebody might be working on doing hemming and assembling the front and back in all four quarters, or cutting or pattern making, a range of different things that happen in processing all the way through to washing and finishing. They're really important things to have knowledge on. And so as people get gain a higher skill level in a certain area, we might give them the opportunity to a new one, and they just continually work around. This has proven to give them much better skills overall, to be a much more, they're much more employable as a result of this. So therefore, again, they're not dependent on us, they become more independent, and therefore that's a part of creating a freedom dividend.
Great. So I think that one of the words that I've heard on multiple occasions is education. So if you can just tell us more about what types of educational opportunities you offer at Outland Denim and how you've built out this program. Absolutely.
We have spoken about education, and it's that final piece that we think that I've been born and raised in Australia, and I just got an education because I was raised here. I was very fortunate. I learned a lot of basic things, and when you think about it, a lot of people in developing and poor nations haven't had that same privilege to be able to have that kind of education. Now, we can't send everybody back to school and give them 12 years of schooling so that they learn all of these things. But what we can do is that when they come into employment with us, we can start to focus on different areas where we know that they're life skills that are going to be able to help them move forward. And so one of those things is literacy. I've mentioned earlier that literacy is something that not everybody has. And so we've got our facilities in Cambodia. That means teaching on Khmer literacy, teaching people to read and write is one of the foundational things that they're going to need to be able to go forward and be independent. Financial management is key. I'm earning more money than I've earned before. How do I manage it? How do I plan for the future? How do I make sure that my family can have healthcare and they can be educated? Those sorts of things come into financial management. How do I invest my money? How do I turn this amount of money into more money? And we've got these incredible stories of how some of our staff have gone and built houses, and one in particular, she's built a complex of units, incredible things that they've been able to set themselves up for the future because they have this education that gives them the basic skills to be able to go forward and prosper in that. Health and first aid, basic health issues that many of our staff had never been taught about. And so it's important for us to be able to bring professionals in and educate them on these sorts of things, educate them through the doctors and nurses that work in our facilities, and then also external professionals that are continuing that educational process for them. English is just a language that is so valuable for our staff to learn. There's many English-speaking Cambodians, and so to be able to teach them that, it makes them more employable, it gives them more security going forward into the future. And finally, leadership, mentoring. Okay, we're working in an environment where there's many people that have suffered trauma. There's people that are working through that are at an early stage than I might be. How do I work as a part of a team? How do I lead others that are behind me further up the ladder, support them so that we can all be successful? And one of the incredible things that we see happen is, you see these young ladies that come from these traumatic situations where they're suffering, and they've probably only been able to think about hand to mouth, survival for so long. But now they're starting to get this opportunity to, open up their mind a little bit more, and they start to think about those that are coming along behind them and realizing that they're the solution for the one that is still suffering. That places a lot of value on their job, a lot of importance on their job. And I think we all need to know that we're doing something for a purpose and a greater purpose than ourselves. And I think when you combine all of these things together, that's the outcome that you get these young women that know that they're working for something way greater than themselves. It's changing someone else's life. And I think that's the greatest satisfaction any of us could ever hope from a job.
So if we can turn now to impact, how do you concretely measure whether your investment is having an impact on your employees? I mean, I think you've given us plenty of examples up till now, but do you have a more formal way to measure what the impact is on the people that work for you?
We do a lot of surveying, and it's really just trying to monitor what is and isn't happening and where are we weak. And, you know, the interesting thing is about building an impact model. It doesn't mean just because you had a great impact this week, you will next. That's something that's a consistent thing you've got to monitor, is the impact. You can't just measure it once a year and think that that's it. But, you know, you can see some statistics on the screen here. 75% of surveyed employees have a reduced level of risk to exploitation 6+ months after they start employment. That's highly due to the four components, the four pillars of our business, being able to offer opportunity to these people and training them into the job, living wages, and education. You can see 51% of surveyed employees report that education and employment has helped them decrease their debt. Many employees in Cambodia have high debt levels. And so without having a living wage where there is enough to be able to save and use those savings to be paying off debt, then you've got no chance of escaping that. And unfortunately, that's what we see for a huge amount of people in countries like Cambodia. 98% of our surveyed employees share their education that's provided at Outland Denim with their families and communities. And, you know, being able to measure that in some way, you know, what impact is this having on your family? What is it having on your children, you know, and further abroad into your community? Those things are really important to measure, because if you think about what could happen if you employ 100 people and those 100 people become educated on something, but take that education back to their families. And, you know, it might be a family of 5, it might be a family of 8, but they're taking this education back and those people have been educated in these basic things, then you've got this massive leap forward in what can happen in a community. And so we see that being able to have employment opportunities that provide all of this to people, a freedom dividend is 100% attached to that.
James, thank you so much for sharing your trauma-informed approach at Outland Denim. You certainly have provided me with plenty of food for thought, and we really hope that you've inspired plenty of other companies to start out on a similar journey of survivor empowerment and employment. Your work is truly fantastic.
Thanks, Alice. Thanks so much.